Picture this. You're in a room filled with people at an amazing party, but there's an annoying, persistent sound that only you can hear. It's like an uninvited guest at that party, and it won't stop following you around. But what if I told you that there's a way you can turn down the volume of that sound and even make it fade into the background so that you can finally enjoy that party that you're on? In this video, we're going to reveal the secret to achieving what I just mentioned by solving the tinnitus mystery in parts with a thing called habituation. And if you stay tuned for the video, I'm going to give you a few easy tips on how you can get closer to habituation. And I think you might like tip number 4. Welcome. Welcome to this video. My name is Frieder. I'm the founder of Outring Tinnitus and mytinnitus.club. I personally am deaf on my left ear and I have a hearing aid, a high-pitched severe tinnitus and a hearing loss for about 15 years already now. And I'm a personal tinnitus coach. I'm also a founder of our online tinnitus community that's called mytinnitus.club. And today in this video, I want to talk a little bit about habituation and how you can solve the mystery around habituation. So come on with me, join me in this little adventure on how I found to habituation, but also what habituation is and how you can get a little bit closer. So today I want to get a little bit deeper into what habituation actually is, what the concept is, so you guys can understand it and really see how it can support you in your life with tinnitus, so that tinnitus becomes less bothersome, you become less affected by tinnitus in all different areas and aspects of life, whether then be it getting better sleep quality despite tinnitus, getting better at concentrating again during the day for your job and the task that you have at hand, enjoying more time with family, and really having tinnitus, where we mentioned at the start, fade into the background. Many of you know, if you do have tinnitus like myself, that tinnitus often can be really disturbing. And when we come to suffer from tinnitus and the doctor tells us, or the ENT tells us there is nothing really we can do, and we go onto the internet and we see the big difficulties that other people really also have with tinnitus, then often that can lead us to a lot of difficulty, right? That can make us struggle with sleep, that can make us anxious all the time. And I do understand that and get that. But what you need to understand is that not the sound that you experience is inherently and directly creating this, but is your reaction to it. So if you want to understand how habituation works and work towards habituation in order to achieve a better quality of life, so that your brain and subconscious part can sort of accept tinnitus as something that is playing in the background, but you don't need to be paying attention to, right? Like that person at the party, and that sort of goes away and then doesn't annoy you anymore. I think that's very, very important, because in the end, you want to improve your quality of life with achieving that stage of habituation. So what is tinnitus habituation? I briefly mentioned that if you become habituated to your tinnitus, and habituation comes from the term that something is habitual, something is normal. In German, we would say gewöhnlich, and it's something that you've become accustomed to. It's something that you have sort of like acclaimed and incorporated in your daily life. And habituation, as it relates to tinnitus, is really just a term to say that there is no more emotional reactivity at any kind of level at which the tinnitus would pose a threat or a nuisance or really anything that affects you in a day-to-day life, right? So the process of habituation means that over the time, your brain adapts to the sound that you are perceiving and the sounds that you hear as tinnitus, right? Because as soon as your brain adapts to these sounds, your brain knows that these sounds are not dangerous. It stops constantly looking for them. And that might feel unnatural at first, and it might feel that this is something that's happening absolutely in the back and you have no control over it. But in essence, you do. So to get into a little bit of the science behind habituation, we need to understand that the auditory cortex and the auditory pathways on how our ear interacts with the parts in the brain that process sound. We know that as soon as the ear is not perfectly capable to understand and perceive sounds anymore, there's a compensatory mechanism, which is the absence of sound, which we then, or many of us, if you don't have certain other different forms of tinnitus, as discussed about in the last podcast episode with Annemarie van der Waal in TMJ areas, but many people have a combination. Many people have that combination that tinnitus is an absence of sound that is then a compensation mechanism of the brain. And it's something that, of course, once the brain starts to present this sound and it is categorized as something dangerous or intrusive, of course, it's very difficult to just simply say, it's just tinnitus. Let it go into the background. Let's not focus on it. Right? So the process of habituation is more than just simply saying, okay, I will just simply accept this. No, it's a very, very active act of becoming aware what other underlying mechanisms are going around in your daily life with tinnitus that keep you from becoming and getting habituated. So I would say it's a little bit of a journey, and a journey that we perfectly mapped out in our online tinnitus community at mytinnitus.club. So if you check out www.mytinnitus.club, you'll find an amazing online community with a lot of supportive people and members who really want to help you, including myself, to get to these stages of habituation. And for that, we, for example, have, and recently had last Wednesday, our accountability check-in, where we set goals that you individually tackle. And then we say, okay, what are your current goals? Give yourself a grade from 0 to 10 for the next 2 weeks, practice every day, and then see where we stand in 2 weeks' time. How much more have you become habituated? Or how much more have you been able to tackle the goals that stand in your way towards habituation? The journey of habituation is basically comprised by the journey that you go through with your tinnitus, becoming aware that you're having this massive problem, being really triggered, often like nearly finding like you're going insane, trying to distract yourself often and not wanting to face tinnitus, and ultimately moving towards something though that we start to understand and see that tinnitus is very bothersome, but there might be short parts and episodes in our day where we're not paying as much attention as in others. And then we expand on those. And then we expand on these individual moments where we perceive tinnitus less and less. And we start to see that, in essence, it is our relationship with tinnitus that governs whether we become habituated or not. And if we manage to change this relationship, if we manage to loosen up the core belief systems that we have around that, basically saying, I will never be able to get back to normal sleep again. If we change these sort of belief systems that can become quite inherent, then we can give ourselves the opportunity and the option as well to learn something completely new, to open up our brain for new changes. Literally, new neuronal connections will form, and your brain slowly and steadily will become habituated. Here, and now in part 4, I want to get into a few strategic tips that I promised you from the start that will be very, very helpful for you towards getting closer to the process of habituation. And the first tool that I want to mention is using tools of cognitive behavior therapy in order to understand your reaction to your tinnitus, but also why you relate to your tinnitus. We are humans and we fear pain and despair. We don't want to have pain, right? So because we avoid pain, and we've had a lot of pain caused by tinnitus, we want to avoid that as much as we can. So whenever we hear and perceive tinnitus, that is related to the pain that we originally experienced when we first started dealing with tinnitus. That in and of itself, however, unfortunately, keeps the brain very aware of this ringing. So in essence, it can't really go back into the background, which is what we want to achieve with the stage of habituation. So using techniques and tools of cognitive behavior therapy, for example, in our community looks like this. Using different worksheets in order to identify the ways in which your tinnitus seems dangerous to you, in which your tinnitus continues to be an outrageous nuisance. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying you have grown accustomed to it, and by that, you are taking away the chance for yourself to experience it differently, which absolutely you can and will, because I'm the example. One deaf ear, one ear with a big hearing aid and a very loud tinnitus, if I take this out, blaring away. So if I can do this, and if I become habituated, and most of my clients do as well, then you can do so too. So that is a very individual process, and it depends on every person how well they become habituated and what kind of strategies and tools work for them. Someone who has sleeping difficulties might turn to yoga nidra in the afternoon to take off the edge and pressure of the sleeping situation at night. Someone who is severely anxious about their sound might want to use, especially at the start, some sound therapy in order to be at least a little bit distracted from the sounds in order to be able to function on a daily basis. However, in the long run, my take on sound therapy, don't do it too long because it will remind you of the underlying annoyance of tinnitus, and then you will continuously look where your tinnitus is, and the sound therapy itself will make you aware that this thing is still there, so not so nice, I don't like it, I don't want this, etc. You get where I'm going with this. But in the end, the possibility that I am giving you, the tools and structures that I can teach you and tell you, the frameworks that are available to you, they are available through my personal coaching, and they're available through our community. So I really suggest, if you find yourself in a place where you want to try this out, where you are serious about wanting to find out how you can get closer to habituation, then really give our community a try. You have an absolute risk-free 2 weeks trial. And if someone's unhappy with the community or the stuff that we have, which by the way, we haven't had yet, then I'm absolutely the last person to not be able to try everything in my powers to help you personally with your process. So the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about today is the benefits of habituation. What are the benefits of habituation? How does habituation actually feel like? Just today, someone asked me, Frida, do you think I will ever become habituated, and what does habituation actually look like? Will I still hear the tinnitus? And I say, oh yeah, absolutely you will. You will still hear it, but you won't listen to it. So I right now can hear my tinnitus if I focus on it, but I'm not listening to it. Listening is the active part that keeps you in that mode and that will put you in that mode. Hearing is the potential of perception. Is it possible for you to hear my fridge? Well, probably not through YouTube. I could potentially hear my fridge humming in the background, but I know it's my fridge, so why would I be bothered by my fridge humming in the background? Although maybe it's time to buy a new one and then thinking about how much money will I have to spend to buy a new fridge, etc. Which one will be good, which one will fit in the kitchen that we have, etc. Right? You get where I'm going. So if you get to that stage of habituation where tinnitus is no longer seen as something dangerous or something to constantly observe in your awareness, then you are a few steps farther already down the line in the process. And with that, big changes in your quality of life will come with it. You will feel better. You will sleep better. You will feel more relaxed. You will feel less stressed out. And there are all these different benefits that you will get from being able to going through these stages and processes and then identifying what are the last things that you are still missing. One final thing that I want to tell you, of course, is habituation takes time. And even though if I manage to speed up the process with a lot of people significantly, it takes time and understanding. Habituation is not a quick pill to swallow. Habituation is something that takes time and commitment from your side to be committed to doing the work and the process of going through it. It takes time. Of course, at the start, it feels like you don't want to do it. You just want to get rid of your tinnitus. You don't want to deal with this anymore. This all is exacerbating your reaction to tinnitus, keeping your focus higher, making your tinnitus in turn probably even louder. So in conclusion, the possibility for habituation, I always say two things. If you are human and if you have a brain, you'll be able to habituate. However, if you are human and you don't use your brain in the way that you can understand yourself and your reaction to tinnitus better, then you won't become habituated. And then you might very well be stuck in the cycle for months or even years. But you don't want that, right? So basically saying the key points of this video were that everyone's able to habituate, everyone's able to join our online community and to go through the steps and processes that I mentioned in order to discover what keeps you individually from habituating, what keeps your brain so hyper-focused on that sound and releases all those stress hormones, making it impossible for those neural pathways to form and to basically regard tinnitus as nothing dangerous anymore. And then the final thing that I want to invite you guys to is share your comments. Yeah, share your comments. Ask me down here. I will reply here on YouTube. Send me an email to frida@outeringtinnitus.com. Join our community for free for 2 weeks. Ask me all the questions that you have. And I'll be super, super happy that here in the community, we will try everything that we can in order to help you with your individual process of habituation. So that's it from me for today. I hope this video has been super useful for you. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and consider to subscribe here on the YouTube channel. And also, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I hope that you have already given us a good rating and that you can recommend our podcast to other people. We've been doing over 50 episodes so far. It's been a pleasure for me, but I'm trying to grow this and I'm trying to get more people to be aware of how habituation and tinnitus management successfully works. So I'm super helpful. It's super helpful, and I'm super glad if you help and support us as well. I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.